So, Sister Jayanti. So, very honored to be here with you. And having met you only recently in Oxford in January. I maybe want to start a bit broadly with a pretty open question. Based on the theme of today, which is this inner wisdom. And what does inner wisdom mean to you personally?
Thank you, and thank you for sharing from your heart. I was at a space when, age 19, just turned 19, and I had many choices in front of me, and I didn't know which direction to go in. Karen mentioned growing up in London, sometimes visiting India, meeting very wise people there, but not really thinking that that's my journey. But there came a point when I thought, I need to find out what this inner journey is about. And so I went knocking on the door of someone who came to Iceland several times, and some of you here knew her, Daddy Jayanti, because I was visiting my grandmother in our hometown in Pune in India. And a yogi can know what you're going through. And I hadn't gone with a specific question, but that was just at the back of my head. And so she started speaking about conscience. And I think that word, in a way, is connected very deeply with inner wisdom. And so when our conscience is alive and awake, alert, then it's able to guide me in my life. And when my conscience has much stuff, many layers covering it, media, society, attitudes, my own personal patterns of behavior, friends, whatever it is, but all these layers cover up the conscience and everything seems to be muddy. You're not able to see clearly where to go, what to do, how to do it. And so when Daddy started speaking about conscience and she was describing this, I then said, well, how do you clear it out? How do you clean it up? And she said, you have to learn to meditate. And my journey began. And so within some weeks, I had decided that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I haven't changed my mind since.
Yeah, I was worried that would be the answer, that you will have to meditate to be it's it's no different than what I thought. So, but I mean, because you talked about when you went there the first time, it was this in the back of your mind. Something was telling you that you needed to know something more or go something deeper. Because this inner voice, I think most of us have heard it, once or more often even. And sometimes when I hear this voice, and it's telling me to do something, and I know that's the right thing to do, I still am not doing it, doing something else. And I think that's something we heard this morning as well, in terms of that courage to be able to do these things that we feel are right, or that our inner wisdom is telling us to do. How can you get to that place of not worrying about maybe external pressures or the world we live in, and to get to that place to act on that inner voice?
For me, it was that the voice became so strong that it was, even in India, somebody 19 years old saying that they don't want to live in London, they want to live in an ashram in India. At that time, at the end of the 60s, was a little strange. Maybe much earlier days it might not have been, but at that time, certainly there was quite a reaction from family and others around me. But I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I knew that this is what I had to do. And so I wasn't allowed to listen to all the other voices at all. And so when there is something that you feel very passionate about, it is very strong. What is more difficult is where it isn't such a strong, passionate voice, and where you know that this is right, but the mind wavers and fluctuates, it goes up and down and all around. And so you get pulled away from that understanding, and you still follow your feelings and emotions and go off in a different direction. So to bring that back and align it with conscience, because it can't be a force, it has to be an alignment that happens, so that I understand and recognize deeply that that is a distraction and this is what I need to do. That's more difficult because it's something internal. The voices from outside are out there, so you can detach from that when there's this very strong pull. But when it's you and your mind is playing games, that's definitely more difficult. So I think the trick is to learn, tell my mind, be quiet just for a little while, just be soft and gentle and sit with it. Not harsh, not strong, just quietly let it just sit and spend a little bit more time in silence. And in that silence, it becomes clear again.
Because you mentioned not being harsh, not being strong, and not forcing something. It should come to you rather naturally. This morning we talked, and Halla, president, she talked about, or she was rather asked about this judgment, where we are reacting in a very angry way often to things, and we're judging other people for not doing something or doing something, etc. Maybe just a reflection from you on that question as well. Like, what do you feel about, like, what is the way that we should be approaching, conversations and these reactions? How can we not go into a direction where we are reacting angrily to different situations?
I learned many years ago that when we think that anger is strength, it's actually weakness. And the original qualities of the inner being, the soul, I don't mind using that term in this gathering, but the original qualities of the soul of goodness and truth and love are the powerful ones. Anger is not power, but those qualities are the ones that are very powerful, the original qualities. And the more I'm in touch with myself, the more I allow these to be part of my daily experience, the more these qualities come to the surface. They've been buried deep down, and so I have to bring them up again. What's on the surface is the anger, the greed, the ego. So now it's time to bring up the original qualities. And the more I practice this internally, then I can see myself reacting. And there's something that many of you might be aware of, but many years ago, Gandhiji said that when I point a finger out there, and today when she talked about judgment, no, it's you. No, 3 fingers are pointing at me. And so I have to watch what I'm doing. And so when I begin to check my reactions, then I realize that it's actually me that has to change. I can't change anyone else. I have to change myself. And so the stopping of the reactions happens when I see that there's a negative effect I'm experiencing through anger or whatever, but also it's having an impact on the other, but also it's changing the atmosphere. And so it's a very, very far-reaching ripple that reaches out. And the other, if I am allowing myself to connect with the peace that I carry within myself, which is there naturally, originally, then I emerge that. And again, that's not restricted to me alone, but the ripples of that also spread around. I was there at Heathrow Airport also 12 o'clock. And again, it was remarkable, that 3 minutes of silence and children stopped. Even they were impacted. Nobody had told them this was going to happen, but just the atmosphere changed dramatically. And so peace is also something that can be shared with many, many others.
Yeah, I can imagine that moment at Heathrow would have been very powerful to witness. We talk like a lot of what we're doing here is to experience or to experiment even with going inwards and finding that inner wisdom, finding that inner peace that is inside all of us. But how do I know it's me and not the noise, not the pressure, the fear, the world? How do I know it's truly me that is speaking there from within? How do I get to that place to know I'm sure of this?
Let me understand if I've understood the question.
Yeah.
How do I know that peace is really belonging to me? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just think about what happens to your physiology when your mind is calm and peaceful and in an atmosphere like this. The whole body feels relaxed. There's no tension in the body. Your shoulders drop. It's not hunched up. So what is natural? It's like when there's water. When the water is just normal, it's cool. And if you were to heat it up, it becomes so hot that it can scald you, it can burn you. Remove the heat, and again, it'll cool down. So we would say that the natural state of being water is cool rather than heat. In the same way, when everything is calm, then I feel very comfortable. Enter a place where there's chaos, and even before entering the room, you can feel your muscles tense up. And maybe even if you get angry with what's going on, your blood pressure rises, your heartbeat goes faster. Everything becomes abnormal. When things are normal, it's in this atmosphere of peace and love and truth, compassion, kindness. You feel very comfortable in that. And hours can pass by and it's fine. But a few minutes of anger and it's very uncomfortable for you, and probably it'll lead you to heart disease. There's a lot of information available now about what happens to the body through the psyche. And so that whole subject of health and how there can be that psychosomatic impact. We're much more aware of it today than we were 50 years ago, at least in the West. I think in India they've known it for centuries, but certainly in the West it's a very recent development within my seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And so can I transform my psyche in the sense of what's going on within my feelings, my emotions, and my mind to a positive state of being? And again, there's a lot of research done with positive psychology, how positive feelings are beneficial for health, but also for relationships. And so it's nothing to do with what others are telling me, but when I begin to experiment with these ideas myself, I see the results.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to believe me or anyone else. Try it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. I mean, from my experience, this definitely is the case. Not that I'm any expert in it, but when when I am able to calm down and slow down, you get to a very different place, and your mind calms down. Another subject which is maybe more kind of towards the negative spectrum of feelings is fear, and we talked about it this morning as well. Halla mentioned it, and mentioned by a few of the people in the panel as well. Fear, because to be able to get rid of fear, you have to be, in my opinion, you have to be able to open your heart. You have to be able to be vulnerable to the unknown and to things that maybe are different to you. Vulnerability, that's a difficult thing for a lot of people. How do you get there? How do you get there to just be able to be vulnerable in any situation, just in life, in everyday life? How your reflection on vulnerability and how to get there.
Can I turn it around a little bit? I'd like to see how we can get to a place of freedom from fear, and I think that is possible. I'm afraid because I don't know. So basically, when I don't know you, then it's very possible to have a lot of fear. What are you going to say? What are you going to do? It was interesting. Hadla this morning said to the two young people, should I be afraid of what you're going to say? But of course she was teasing. But this is the thing, that when you don't know, there can be fear. But when I'm very secure in knowing myself, and there's a state of valuing the self and self-esteem, and that's my own inner dignity that I'm upholding. I'm connected with myself, I'm connected with my core values, I'm following those values in my life, and so I'm very comfortable. And so when I meet somebody, I don't have to be afraid of them, because whatever you say or do, my dignity is in my own hands, and so I can walk free from fear. But also, this morning, another word she used a couple of times was curiosity. And so that desire to know, when I think, here's somebody who's valuable, and everybody is valuable, not just one, but when I see you as someone valuable, and I want to understand where you're coming from, I'm willing to listen. One of the big things about today's noise is we've stopped listening. We don't give our full attention to the person who's here in front of me. My mind is there and there and there, and I haven't trained my mind to focus and be concentrated. And so time with the self, focusing the mind, valuing myself, I'm willing to listen to you and where it is you're coming from, so that my perspective can change. I've forgotten who said it, but somebody said it. And they were saying that if we spend some time together and you're the same as you were before the conversation, and I'm the same as I was before the conversation, what have we done? But when there's an exchange and an understanding, then I've shifted my position, and hopefully you have also. So getting rid of fear is different factors, but certainly getting in touch with myself is the most important.
I'm going to do one final question before I move to the next. Because we based on all of this, and to be able to go to these places, whether that's going inside or if it's going, in your career or in work or in your families or whatever, it requires courage. And we talked a lot about courage this morning as well. Mostly courage is thought of, I would say, when you act, when you do something, you need courage to do that. But do you think that courage can emerge from stillness, from not acting? Do you believe courage can be there as well in the not doing?
Agree. When the world is going crazy in one direction, and I say, I have to stop, I have to stand still and consider what I need to do. Yes, that takes courage because the energy is going here, and maybe it's not where I want to go or where I should go. But I wanted to say another thing about courage. Facing situations outside, again, is much easier than facing the darkness I carry within myself. And it's as if there's layers and layers and layers to clean out. And so you think you've dealt with, whether it's anger is an easy example to give because it's so visible. So you think you've dealt with the anger, and then you realize that it's much deeper than that. Or ego. Ego's even deeper, deeper, deeper within the soul. And so it's important at that moment to have courage and say, I have to keep going. I'm not going to stop now. It's important to keep going.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Jayanti. Thank you for the wisdom and for the presence, as always.